WatchCharts is the world's leading secondary watch market research platform. Dive into the data yourself at WatchCharts.com. We're back with another tier list, another viewer request, and as always, lots of data on the performance of this time green dial watches in the secondary market. Green dials and their prevalence are certainly from a trend less than 5 years old. There were, of course, watches made with green dials and green accents on the bezel and whatnot for far longer, but brands feeling like they need to have a green dial watch or several in their collections is a more recent phenomenon. Not all green dial watches are born equally, and a green dial is no guarantee to elevated desirability and therefore a robust secondary market price and value retention. As always, you're welcome to dig into the data on these watches, which are all currently in production, and discontinued references as well as the potentially dozens of watches we didn't cover here over at WatchCharts.com. Our tiers are defined as value retention greater than 50%, between 0 and 50%, watches that lose up to 30% of their retail value, and watches that lose more than 30% of their retail value. As always, let's do this in alphabetical order, although this time we could have done it by complication, three-handers, chronographs, GMTs, and so on. So if that's something you'd like to see, let us know in the comments for next time. These alphabetical lists usually start with Lange or with Audemars Piguet. In this instance, Lange doesn't really have a green dial watch in their current production catalog. So the first AP here is the Royal Oak 15510 ST, which retails for $27,800 and has a market price of $56,200, which gives it a value retention of plus 102%, putting it in the S tier. The Royal Oak Offshore reference 26238 Ti retails for $38,600, and on the secondary market trades for $43,600, giving it a value retention of plus 13%, which is good enough for the A category. And then the other Royal Oak Offshore, the 15720 ST, which retails for $30,200, trades on the secondary market for $32,700, giving it a value retention of just plus 8%. The Breitling Chronomat 40 GMT reference A32398 is a watch that I think looks far better when it's in a two-tone configuration, maybe with a chronograph function instead of the GMT. But this one retails for $5,950 and its market price is $4,500, giving it a value retention of minus 24%, and that's placing it as the first watch in the B tier. The other Breitling on the list, which for sure I think is the better looking of the two in my opinion, is the Premier Heritage B0940. This is the reference AB0930, which retails for $8,750. And on the secondary market, trades for $5,700, which is 35% below retail, meaning it actually does worse than the Chronomat GMT. The Girard Perregaux Laureato Absolute Aston Martin F1 is another one of these sort of excess is somehow good chronographs, and it retails for $27,800 and trades for $25,900, which means it's losing about 7% off its retail value. The next brand is one that has, I think, certainly in my experience, done a great job of producing green dialed watches since long before perhaps they were really a craze. Glashutte Original, and the first one is the Panamatic Lunar. This retails for $11,100 and trades for $7,600, which means it ends up in the C tier with a value retention of minus 32%. The CQ date, on the other hand, which is at $10,200 at retail, sort of a luxury diver, trades for $7,700, which is a value retention of negative 25%, which is good enough for the B tier. Up next is another brand that also does color dials very well and has a whole variety that I could have picked from. I picked three here. The first is the SBGW 285, which is a hand-wound three-hander at 37 millimeters. It retails for $4,800, which is a little bit more than the retail price for the basic sort of cream dialed SBGW 231, and goes on the secondary market for $3,400, which means it's trading 29% below retail. The next one is the SBGJ 259. the Urban Bamboo. This is a high beat GMT watch that retails for $6,800 and trades for $5,100, which is 25% below retail. This is another one that has a very sort of vibrant green, but a completely different take on green from the one that preceded it, and even the one that's coming next, which is more of sort of a deep forest green. I'm really not going to go beyond that and try and explain colors, but this is a Spring Drive reference SBGE 257, which retails for $6,200 and trades for $4,000, meaning it loses 35% of its value and ends up at the bottom of this tier list. Up next is a Hublot, which I think is the first time that we are featuring a Hublot in any of our videos. This is the Classic Fusion 42, which retails for $7,600, and this variant with the green dial trades for $5,400, meaning it loses 29% of its retail value, which is just good enough to put it in the B tier. The next brand is also one that does a lot of green dialed watches, IWC, the first one being the Big Pilot 43 Spitfire Bronze, reference 329702. This retails for $9,950 and trades for $7,700 on the secondary market, which is 23% below its retail price. The next one is the Pilot's Watch Chronograph 41. This is sort of your standard Pilot's Watch chronograph from IWC, except this time with a green dial. This is the reference 388103. This is available in the primary market for $7,600, and in the secondary market it trades for $5,900, which is a value retention of minus 22%, which is still in the B category. The next one, which is a little bit more interesting, is the Top Gun Edition Woodland reference 389106. This retails for $11,700 and trades for $10,300, which is a value retention of negative 12%. And I think part of the reason why this is not trading at as much of a loss relative to retail as the other two that we looked at here is because of its association with the Lake Tahoe, which is, I think, a far more popular watch within the IWC collection, certainly currently, than any of these other watches that we've looked at in this list. Up next is Jaeger Lecoultre, which is represented by the Polaris automatic date. The current retail price for these is $11,100 and the market price is $8,700, which means it loses 22% off of its retail value on the secondary market. Longines is a brand that I'm pretty happy I was able to include this time. This is the Legend Diver, which for $3,125 gives you a heritage-inspired design for a dive watch and trades on the secondary market for $2,000, which is a value retention of negative 36%, which unfortunately puts it at the bottom of the table. Of course, to be provocative more than anything else, the MoonSwatch I've included with the other two watches that we're going to talk about from Omega. This is the Mission on Earth, which retails just like all of the others for $260 and goes on the secondary market for $340 for a value retention of plus 31%. Usually we quote market prices in these videos rounded to the nearest $100, but in this instance, because the retail price is so low, I rounded the price to the nearest $10 amount, just to sort of give you a sense of exactly where that price level is. This is certainly another one of the watches on this list that certainly qualify for the hype watch tag. I don't know how much of that, though, has to do with the green implementation per se than it does with the idea of this being a MoonSwatch in the first place. So the other two from Omega, of course, are going to be the Seamaster and the Speedmaster. We'll talk about the Seamaster first, which also has a beautiful shade of green for its ceramic dial and ceramic bezel insert. This is the Seamaster Diver 300 meters, which retails for $5,900 and trades for $5,100 on the secondary market, which is a value retention of minus 14%, giving it a spot in the B tier. This is another one that I would consider to be in that hype watch category as one of the green dialed watches that was certainly better appreciated by the response that certainly I could see from the enthusiast community. And then the last Omega, the Speedmaster, this is the Moonshine Full Gold, Moonshine on Moonshine, which retails for $41,600 and trades for $38,600, which is just 7% below its retail price, again landing it in the B tier. Patek Philippe with its Aquanaut brings us back to the top of the tier list. The 5968G retails for $75,700 and trades for $126,900, which puts it in the S tier, but is of course not the highest value retention on this list. That is still the Royal Oak with a green dial in steel. The 5168G, which is the three-hander and the date version of the Aquanaut with the green dial, retails for $49,090 and trades for $89,300, which is at 82% above retail, better than the chronograph version of this watch. And lastly, from Patek, the World Time Chronograph reference 5930P, which is a cool $106,450 at retail and trades for $127,700 on the secondary market, has a value retention of plus 20%, which puts it in the A tier. The Rolex OPs with the color dials, of course, have been some of the most hyped watches of the last few years. Here we're going to look at both the 36 and the 41 millimeter versions. They retail for $6,100 and $6,400 respectively. The 36 millimeter version trades for $8,700, which is 43% above retail. That's good enough for the A tier. And the 41, which trades at $10,100, is 58% above its retail value, which actually is good enough for the S tier. This really is one of those watches where you should be willing to pay the price because you want this particular implementation and nothing else will do. Beyond that, I think it's hard to justify this watch at these market prices, other than to say that the market price is a reflection of the demand. The Seiko Alpinist reference SPB121, which retails for $725 and trades for $570, meaning about 21% below retail, so that's good enough for the B tier, is another watch that really can go toe-to-toe in terms of both how well it's executed and how much adoration it receives from the community, even after its rebranding within the Prospects line, compared to any of the other watches on this list. And its value retention really is no reflection of necessarily how good of a watch it is or how well loved it is. From Tag Heuer, we have an Aqua Racer 300 meters caliber 5. This is the reference WBP208B, which retails for $4,300 and trades for $2,800, which means 35% below its retail price. This, I think, as we've seen with most of the Tag watches that we've covered during these tier lists, Tag does not seem to have very good value retention, certainly compared to some of the other brands that are discussed, certainly within the collecting community or in the enthusiast community in the same breath. But we're going to end with some highs and some lows, both in absolute and in relative terms. First, we'll cover two watches from Tissot, which both have the Powermatic 80 movement, the Gentleman and the PRX. These retailed for $825 and $725 respectively. Both are sort of steel watches on full steel bracelets. They trade for $480, which is 42% below retail, and for $520, which is 28% below retail, respectively, which means the Gentleman is just good enough for the C tier, but the PRX actually makes it up to the B tier. And then sort of to end on a, again, absolute high in terms of certainly price point, the Black Bay 58 reference 79018V, which is the 18 karat gold version of the Black Bay 58, has a green dial, retails for $17,400 and trades on the secondary market for $10,800, which is just good enough for the C tier. So we've covered time only, time and date only, automatic, spring drive, hand wound, chronograph, GMT, diver, field, everyday, hyped, not hyped, large, small, precious metal, and less precious metal watches. The only thing that unites them really here is that they all have green dials. We hope you find this useful as you progress along your collecting journey. Thanks for listening.